to understand chained conditionals, we first need to understand Boolean values. So Boolean values are just two things. It's a value that's either true or false. That's it. A way we can use these Boolean values is to check something. Let's just set a variable x to, let's say, 2 and a variable y to 3. Something that we can do is write this. So the symbol means is equal to, and another and this symbol over here means that it's not equal to. So if you see here, this asks, is x equal to y? X is 2 and y is 3, so the answer should be false. And if we run the code, you can see here, yes, false. But if we change y to 2 and check, is x equal to y? We can see here, true. And if we take back x is equal to 2, y is equal to 3, and ask, is x not equal to y? Since this symbol means not equal to, we run the code, see that's true. Okay, now we're going on to if statements. So if statements are basically asking if something is true, and then you put this double thing here. So if this is true, then do that. So for example, this, if true, print it worked. If I run this, it'll print it worked. If I write if false, I can just clear it. Then it won't print anything because the statement was false. You can switch out this with anything you want. So let's say I set two variables, x equals 2, y equals 2. And then if I write if x equals y, print x equals y. Then if x equals y, x is 2, y is 2, so this statement is true. So if I run this, it'll print the value. It will print x equals y. So it'll print. I can just change it back to it worked. You see. But if x equals 2 and y equals 3, just clear, and I run the program, nothing happens because this statement is not true. But if I, for example, wrote x is not equal to y, then the statement is true because x is not equal to y. Another thing you can add are these statements. I'll just write them here. Else, elif, and not. So I'll just go through them one by one. So an else statement is if this here is not true, then you can write else and then do something else. So I'll just write it didn't work. So let's just use the example here. Again, if x is equal to y, which is true, so it should print it worked, and it does. It printed it worked. But if I change y to 3, then if x equals y, which is false, therefore it can't do this. Therefore it goes down here to the else statement to figure out what to do instead. And here I've assigned it to print it didn't work. So if I run this code here, yeah, it didn't work. So let's take elif next. I'll just make another variable. So let's say if x is equal to y, then print x is equal to y, and then elif, which means it's kind of like an if statement. It's a kind of like a mix of the if statement and the else statement. So if x equals y, if that is false, it goes down here to else, which is now elif, and we can add another one like x equals z, and we can print x equals z, and then let's just take else print x does not equal anything. So let's just start by making x, let's just by saying if x equals y, now x is 2 and y is 2. So that's true. So it'll print x is equal to y. But now let's take y to 3. So if we ask if x equals y, which is now false, since x is 2 and y is 3, so it'll go down here to the elif statement. If elif x equals c, which is true because both of them are 2. So if I run this, it'll show up x equals z. And if I change this again, so if x equals y, that's false, so it goes down. If x equals z, which is also false, so it goes down to the last else statement. And it prints x does not equal anything. So if I run this code, yeah, x does not equal anything. Now let's take now we've gotten those two down, now it's time to take the not. And the not is basically, it checks if something is true and false and reverses it. So if something is true, it becomes false. If something is false, it becomes true. So if not false, print it worked. So this statement here is false, but it uses a not variable. No, it's not a variable. It uses a not, so it reverses it, so this becomes true. So it'll print it worked. See? And if we take if not true, it doesn't do anything because the statement is true and it gets reversed, so it doesn't, so it becomes false. So let's say x equals 2, y equals 2. That's a common example. If not x equals y. So this is x equals y, that is true. It gets flipped, it's false. And let me just clear it. And if I run it, nothing happens. But if I change y to 3, 3, now if not x equals y, so this statement is false. It's a not here, so it gets flipped. It becomes true. And it'll print it worked. And it worked. Another function is the AND function. So let's set, so as an example, let's set x to 2, y to 2, and z to 2. We could make an if statement like if x equals y and x equals z, then do something. The values here are and, or, those. So let's just say it is true. So since x equals y is true and x equals z is true, this whole thing is true, and it'll do the command below. So if I run it, it is true. But if I, for example, changed z to 3, then it doesn't do anything because this is true and this is false, which makes this together false. But if I, for example, if I change this with an or, then only one of these needs to be true. So this one is true, this one is false, but one of them is true, so this entire thing is true. So if I run it, it prints it is true. I can add as many of these as I want, like and y equals z. Now, okay, this was not really that great of an example. Let's just take like a, let's just add another one. So, for example, if I took an and here, then this statement needs to be true, so one of these needs to be true, then this entire thing becomes true, and this thing needs to be true. So right now it's not true because x is equal to y, so, and we only need one, so this entire thing is true. But y is not equal to a, so this thing overall is false. But if we changed a to 2, for example, then both of these are true and the entire statement is true.